Executive Field Notes, Edition 4. If you can't be replaced, you and your business will stall. The skills that helped you grow your business or got you promoted are probably the skills that are also limiting the future growth of you and your business. You know the answers, you fix the fires, and you personally ensure that key projects cross the finish line. But as the business grows, that exact hands on mindset becomes the single biggest obstacle to scaling. The most critical shift an executive can make is realizing that their job needs to evolve so the business can evolve. Your primary responsibility is to build an organization that operates successfully long after you've moved up, moved on, or stepped away. A real coaching example. I see this constantly in my coaching practice across organizations of all sizes. Consider a leader running a small company who reaches a critical strategic crossroads. To capture the next stage of value, pursuing strategic acquisitions, exploring new markets, and driving organic expansion, he needs to spend his energy looking outward. But he can't because he's still tethered to the operational responsibilities he's owned for years and hasn't developed someone capable of taking them over. To unleash the next wave of business growth, he has to deliberately develop an operational leader to take over those daily responsibilities. If he doesn't, both his strategic agenda and his company's expansion will hit a hard ceiling. The leadership pivot, moving beyond heroics. In my last episode of the Mid-Market Leaders podcast, Chuck Zwickard, the president and COO of Weidenhammer, shared a foundational insight on leadership longevity. He emphasized that real leadership isn't about personal performance or manual heroics. It's a privilege grounded in service, humility, and empowering others to succeed without clear guardrails. When leaders treat every decision as something only they can handle, they create a false sense of security. And in reality, they're trapping the business in a state of operational dependency. Fixing the operational gaps, single threading. As you shift your focus towards building capability and you begin to look at your team through a different lens, that's where you start uncovering operational vulnerabilities like single threading. Aaron Bach, the CEO of Opcala, pointed out on the podcast that single threading occurs whenever a critical process, key client relationship, or major decisions rests entirely on one brain. If an individual takes a vacation, falls ill, or leaves the company, operations grind to a halt. So finding and fixing single-threaded roles in your team is an essential step in building organizational resilience. But as leaders, we must also recognize that we can be the ultimate single thread holding back the entire business. 3 field-tested steps to replace yourself. Replacing yourself isn't about stepping back or advocating accountability. It's about intentionally delegating to create development opportunities for others while freeing up your bandwidth for evolving work or tasks that you are best suited for at this moment. This evaluation of your time continuously evolves as you, the business, or your team develop. Running through this exercise below, at least quarterly, ensures you are actively working to build a strong bench and stay focused on the highest value priorities for your role today. First step, audit your time and single threads quarterly. Take a hard look at your calendar and operational commitments over the past 90 days. Ask yourself, which recurring decisions land on my desk simply out of habit? What operational areas would stall if I were completely unplugged for 2 full weeks? And what does the business need from me today that I'm struggling to fully commit? Identify 2 to 3 specific operational outcomes you currently handle that should be transitioned to a rising leader on your team. Step 2, delegate outcomes, not just tasks. Real delegation fails when executives hand off step-by-step instructions, such as do this task this way, instead of full outcome ownership, such as own this process and its results. Define what success looks like clearly, and then grant your team member the autonomy to execute. Remember, an 80% solution executed autonomously by a developing team member is almost always better for long-term growth than a 100% solution that requires your constant intervention. Step 3, stair-step the safety net. Aaron Bach described how Opcala uses a stair-stepping approach to build capacity without throwing people into the deep end without support. When transitioning key responsibilities, build structured backstops. Pair the developing leader with a peer for cross-training. Leverage fractional or third-party support during transition periods to absorb overspill. Establish a brief, regular review cadence. such as a 15-minute weekly check-in to provide feedback until they demonstrate complete mastery. The bottom line, the ultimate measure of leadership is creating an organization that succeeds because you have invested in people who can carry it forward. Because your role and your business are constantly evolving, evaluating how you spend your time must be an ongoing commitment. By making replacing yourself a regular quarterly habit, you build a more resilient organization, give your team the development opportunities they crave, and ensure you stay focused on the work only you can do. So the executive reflection for the week: what is one operational responsibility you should hand off this month so a rising leader can grow and you can focus on the work only you can do? Thank you for listening. I'm Jeff Cass, founder of Impact Coaching.